you ought to want to be in a situation where you're going to be challenged mentally and you're going to have an expectation like, I better not walk in this house and I don't have the expectation to be a man.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Flip That Switch. I'm your boy B to the Sis Naive. Today we have a episode that we're going to be doing called Is Chivalry Dead? And the perfect person that I had for this episode is who you guys are looking at today, my boy Jared. Me and Jared been knowing each other for, it's been since like 2012.
Nah, bro. Before that, it was like
2010.
It was 2009, 10.
Okay.
For
Yeah. So we're probably going on about 14 years of friendship, and we've been rocking with each other. We met at church, and we've been rocking with each other ever since. I was in his wedding. His daughter's my goddaughter, and so the relationship is just like solid. Locked in forever. Jared, I appreciate you jumping on to do this episode with me. The reason why I had asked you to do this episode with me is because I know that you can give some insight. I know what your relationship is like with your wife and how you still do the things necessary to be romantic and stuff like that. And so, I just wanted to talk to you about chivalry and is it dead and kind of some of your experiences with it. Really, is it something that is played out, or is it something that we really should be doing more? And so we just gonna dive right in, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely. Just want to say thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Like you said, we go way back. We bros. I consider you family, dog. My mom love you. My siblings love you, bro. And they love you and your family, beautiful wife and child. So I appreciate that. And like you said, man, is chivalry dead? I don't think it's dead to us millennials. If it's cool to step right into it. But I think it's dying for that generation that is after us. You know what I mean? And the reason why I say that is because a lot of our friends that are our age, they started young having kids, right? So those kids are now in high school, some of them graduating, and they're not necessarily being taught how to, be chivalrous as far as a man goes. Even girls, man, they're not even being taught to let their significant other be chivalrous. My mama told me, man, when I was 16 years old, 15 years old, she said, I'm not touching the door anymore. She said, from here on out, when we're together, I'm not touching the door. And I thought she was joking. I'm like, what you mean you're not touching the door? We got to go in the building. So she would roll up to the door and just sit there. And I'll be like, oh, I got to open the door. And so that kind of like bred in me that for any woman, whether it be my wife, my daughter, Jane up the street,
right,
whatever, I got to open that door. I got to make sure that she goes first and does all of those things like that. So that's where it all began for me.
I never really had an example on how to be chivalrous. And honestly, man, it took me a long time to figure that thing out. Like, because I didn't have an example. Like, so, I wasn't opening car doors. I wasn't opening the door. I wasn't pulling out chairs at the table. That's just something I didn't know how to do, so it was like, what is it? It's like, as a matter of fact, in my mind, I would be like, you're not handicapped. You can open your own door, even now, and I admit it, like, I'd be the first to admit it, like, I can definitely be better at it. Like, for example, if me and Destiny are walking, I sometimes forget to get on the inside of the sidewalk. And in my mind, I'm like, what's the difference in me being on the inside and the outside? But I have to come to grips with myself and realize, okay, no, you need to be on the inside of the sidewalk in case something happens.
And you push it out the way.
And you push out the way.
Can't
Yeah.
push. Yeah, so it's better to push out the way instead of grab and move out the way. Definitely. That's
No,
a
for sure.
great example.
But that's something that I was never taught. So I'm like, just walk on the sidewalk. It's no big deal. But that's something I had to come to grips with and be like, nah, you need to be on the inside. Even with opening the door sometimes. There's times where we'll walk into a restaurant. Even today, we'll walk into a restaurant and Destiny will just stand there. And she'll be like, you gonna get the door? And I'm like,
doing what she's supposed to do. She's doing what she's supposed to do. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I just have to be reminded because for someone that's my age and never been really had that example or been taught that example or didn't see that example, it's like, man, I really got to continue to like focus on that and improve in that area and elevate myself. Because sometimes I slip, man. I ain't gonna lie, and it just and I understand that this is kind of part of like what it takes to be a man.
Right. Definitely. And to see, like, to your point, to see like my daughter, she's 6, she's getting ready to be 7. She's starting to see like how I am being intentional as far as being, showing that chivalry side.
Yeah.
There's times I don't forget, but there's times that Chanel forgets. Like, I want to touch every door when we're together. I don't care if it's the car door, if it's walking in the house door, if it's the restaurant door. And sometimes she'll walk up to the truck and grab that door.
Yeah.
I block it and push it right back and then and open it.
Yeah.
Same thing with my daughter. Like today, I went into the grocery store to get. I think Chanel's doing like a pancake batter thing at her job for like the holiday season and all of that. And she asked me to go grab her some. What did she ask me? Some olive oil or some vegetable oil or something like that, so they can mix it in. Okay. Well, when I walked into the store, I saw flowers, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get some flowers. You know what I mean? So I got that oil, and then I got the flowers to do that unexpected thing. And I dropped off the oil, but I also, put them on her desk in the principal's office, left her a note telling how much I love her, things like that. And that just makes her day. But to the point of my daughter, when I got those flowers, immediately I was like, well, I got to get my daughter some flowers too.
Wow.
Because she expects that now. It's like every time I walk in the house, Daddy's where my flowers.
Wow.
Where is, and I always get her like I don't get her the most expensive ones, like the roses. I get her like the little carnations or something like that. But we put them in a vase, we cut them, we put them in her room so they can get sunlight, and she expects that. Wow. So she's going to know growing up that she got a daddy that loves her, and when she starts dating or she starts hanging out or whatever the case is, she's going to have that expectation. And I can't wait till she say, well, my daddy do this. You know what I mean? And you got to live up to this. Because I'll be in the background like, doing that.
If my dad does this, you got to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what? That is a good point that you brought up because Ocean is now starting to really pay attention to things. Even at 4 months, bro, like she's alert. Like she's looking around every time we're eating something. She's looking at what we're eating. Every time we're talking, she's looking at us. And so even though she doesn't really fully understand, she is starting to see it. And so now it puts even more of an emphasis on, okay, I got to start doing these things because, well, not that I got to start because I am doing it. I just got to be more consistent because this, like you said, this is what she's going to come to expect when she gets older and starts dating. Oh, man.
Yeah. I already told y'all my plan. I already told you my plan. If they go, I know we getting off subject, but, as being a protective father, you have to protect your child. You know what I mean? And I told, this is no secret, but I'll say it right now. when she gets ready to come to me and say, "Daddy, I want to go on a date. I want to do this." So okay, cool. Tell him to sign me up and take me out first. I want to see, So if he go open, I'm gonna be waiting right there at that door to see if he gonna open my door. Hey, if you wanna, let's go eat dinner. I'm gonna let you pull out my chair. I'm gonna do all that stuff because I
Dude,
want to
that's
see.
gonna be hilarious, dog.
I want to see.
Wait a minute, what is going on here?
I'm gonna be sitting there waiting, like,
You're right. You're right.
open up my door. You know what I mean? And so it's probably going to be embarrassing to her, but that's the point that I was making, is that you have to be intentional to let you know this is what is expected.
Wow.
You know what I mean? This is what is expected. If the dude drives up and beeps that horn and expects you to get in the car, that's he gonna have to take a L. So that's just what it is.
No, for sure. Yeah, it ain't none of that honking the horn, or no. You need to come up to the door, introduce yourself, and say why you're here, and because at the end of the day, what it boils down to is not only chivalry, but it's also respect, right? If you don't have enough respect to be like, you know what, let me come up to the door, let me properly introduce myself. I'm such and such. I'm here to take Harper or Ocean out on a date. How are you? It's very nice to meet you. I'm not expecting you to, I ain't expecting no red carpet type situation, but I do expect you to have enough respect to be like, I do need to come up and introduce myself versus you waiting in the car. No, that's not going to cut it. Let me tell y'all this, fellas, like if you are at that stage and, you're dating and you're meeting somebody for the first time, get out the car, go up to the door and introduce yourself, because you only get one time to make a good first impression. With me, especially when it comes to mine, just like you, when it comes to Harper, you got one opportunity, you got one shot. And because we've been in this game so long and we know the game and we know how it works, and we're old enough to have experienced gone through multiple generations, we know how people are these days. And so the stuff that you think is going to slip our minds, it's not. We're going to remember this. You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100%. There's an example I kind of want to give. I was outside the other day in my front yard getting the trash. That's another thing that's a part of chivalry. It doesn't have to be all blingy and, golden, romantic. It's just the little things, like take the trash out.
Yeah.
I don't expect my wife or my daughter to touch that trash. I don't expect her to touch that lawnmower. I don't have any expectations for her doing that. And so I was outside getting the trash, and I look at the next door neighbor who lives there with his wife, black dude, lives there with his wife, and was getting ready to mow the yard, and was sitting there in the garage while his wife was mowing that yard.
Wow.
And that goes back to the generations that I was talking about. Like, he's younger than me.
That's crazy.
So I wanted to go over there and be like, bro, of course he got mad and probably, why you in my business or whatever. But I wanted to go over there and be like, bro, get yourself up off this chair and mow this yard. Why are you letting your wife mow the grass? Now, if y'all want to do it together, that's one thing. If she sweep up the grass and you mow the grass or something, that y'all tag teaming like that. But it's just certain things like that. You should not. I don't want my wife or my daughter to get out there and be messing with tools. Especially my wife. If she watched this, she clumsy, man. She mess around and run over her foot or something like that, or drop the tool on her foot. And I don't want. And then that's a hospital stay. So I don't want to deal with all that. So
hey,
yeah,
if you watch this, don't touch the tools. Don't touch the tools, sis.
Knives and everything. Nah, I'm just kidding.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, that was an example I saw with that. And again, he looked like he was about maybe 29, 30, 31. Yeah. And kind of like how you said, growing up, nobody really taught you that because of whatever circumstance it may be. You know what I mean? But my mother was intentional, and she said a lot of other stuff, but she said, I'm not touching that door. I'm not buying your school clothes. I'm not doing all this stuff. You got to get a job. And on the flip side, my sister never had a job. She got all this stuff handed to her, right? So
Yeah,
it may seem unfair, but at the end of the day, that all flows into the chivalry, that you have to have this responsibility as a man, that is you take on more. We're built for that. Our shoulders are built to take on more.
I like that. Our shoulders are built to take on more. So growing up, I think you said that you didn't have that example, right?
No, I didn't have. I mean, I didn't have examples of chivalry. I had like certain coaches and things like that in my life,
I
but
was just getting ready to ask you,
Mhm.
okay, so since you didn't have that example, how did you get that embedded in your mind to be like, okay, this is what it takes, this is what it looks like?
um, trial and error. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had coaches that kind of taught me, and my grandfather kind of taught me how to look a man in the face and
Okay.
shake his hand and be confident and say your name, things like that. But as far as like handling and dealing with a woman, I learned that from moms. That was it. You know what I mean? I looked at how she was treated by my father, and I've forgiven my father for the things that he's done,
Mm-hmm.
but for the way that he treated my mother and the things that he's done, and I said, I will never do some of those things. And so I watched my mother go through that. And then, when I was 15 and 16, she was deliberate, intentional to say, this is what you're going to do. And then I just watched and I prayed, to be honest with you, because I was like, look, I have some maturing to do. I don't want to, I'm going to be honest with you. We're having a serious conversation, but I
Yeah.
also use you know, being chivalrous as a way to step up to get a leg up on other dudes that if when I was single.
Hey man. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Advantage.
he ain't
Yeah.
opening your door, but I will. He's not coming over and saying hello. He's not getting you flowers. He's not doing all these things.
Yeah.
So that gave me a leg up a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when I talked to when I first met my wife. She said one of the things that really caught her eye was the fact that I said, "Look, I want to grab some coffee. I want to. We don't to get to know each other better. Let's go grab some coffee." And
Mm-hmm.
I opened that door.
Yeah.
I took that chair out, and it was a more intimate setting. You know what I mean, without all the noise and all of that. So that's what
Yeah.
I did. And she said that was one of the things that put me above, the rest.
Correct.
So it all flows into that. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, because not a lot of men are doing that, and so when you give women a different element than what they're used to,
Mm-hmm.
they're intrigued and they gravitate to that. You
Mm-hmm.
know? And so you mentioned that it was a leg up, but also at the same time, even though it was a leg up, it's still what women require,
Yes.
and
Or
it's
what
really
they should require.
or what they should require, right? Because I was just
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to say it's all in the women's mindset and her mentality. It's like, okay, if this is what I expect, then when you start showing me this, okay, you checking those boxes versus a woman who may not have chivalry as a box that needs to be checked for her. She'll just, it doesn't matter. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So that's good that you mentioned that. Let me ask you this though. You mentioned earlier that Chanel won't touch a trash bag or she's not going to touch the lawnmower. You do have women out there, right? That's like maybe chivalry is not big for them. They're more of, okay, I'm going to take on the leadership role,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, for lack of a better term. And so they don't mind taking out the trash. They don't mind getting out there and changing a tire but they have men at home with them.
Mm-hmm. You see, it's like taking it. That right there is taking. It's like hit me right here, dog. So
what would you say to that woman that maybe wants to take a step back and not have to do that, but she has to do that because maybe her dude is being passive aggressive? What advice would you give that woman? Because again, there's some women who out there that they don't mind doing it. Cool, fine. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, I would say I take out the trash most of the time, but there has been times where Destiny has taken out the trash and I'm upset about it, but I understand and realize that she's not trying to be the alpha. It's just one of those things where, you know, maybe I didn't get to it in time, and she's like, okay, I'm just gonna take it out, and she's not mad, and but I'm kind of upset because I'm like, hey, that's my role, that's what I'm supposed to do. But at the same time, we just have an understanding where, you know, every once in a while she may do it, or for example, putting gas in the car. I'm the one that puts gas in her car about 96% of the time, but there has been every once in a while or an occasion where she has put gas in her car. You know what I mean? So what would you say to the woman who not necessarily is in that situation, but the woman who's having to take on more of the alpha role because, you know, her man maybe is not stepping up in those areas as far as the chivalry goes?
Well, I would ask her the question, how important is having that chivalry in your life?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I said, a lot of women, they have been forced into this role of having to be that alpha, having to take care of it on their own.
Yeah.
Having to deal with these passive aggressive men out here and having to deal with, and so how important is that to you?
I love it.
If it's important, then you got to have a conversation. That's a part of my zero tolerance. You know what I mean? Like, I've had conversations with Chanel more than one occasions where I've said, I need to be the one to wash your car. I need to be the one, if you have a car issue, to be called upon. And now she just, I mean, it's so funny. She'll just be like, hey, the pressure on the tire came on. And I'm like, all right, do you want me to do you want me to switch the cars or whatever? Or, you know, the other day, the TV went out in the living room. I'm sorry, in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm outside smoking a cigar. She texts me, hey, the TV went out. You know, so it's kind of like, if I was going to be that dude, be like, well, why did it go out? What you going to do to fix it? You know, or something like that. But she has it in her mind. So going back to the young lady or the lady who it's, I would ask that question. And then I would say, would you like for this to take place? Would you like for this man to be more, do more around the house, take care of things, take care of the car, wash your car? Like, when I go get my truck washed, I feel bad if my wife's truck is not washed. Or if I go fill up the tank, I feel bad if she's on E. Even though she's barely on E, you know, because she's not going nowhere. She can backslide to work if she wants to. It's that close. But yeah, so what about you? What would you say?
So I agree with you as far as definitely having a conversation, because at the end of the day, you can't take for granted that a man is automatically supposed to know that he's supposed to do these things, right? Again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I never had an example. So for a man that doesn't have an example, he's not going to know unless you, you know, like you said, it's not really just demeaning him. It's a situation where you're saying, okay, listen, this is kind of one of the things that I expect. These are the examples that I saw in, you know, coming up with my parents or whoever was the inspiration to them. And you just got to really kind of be like, you know, I'm not trying to demean you or anything like that. It's just, this is one of the things I expect. I expect when we go to the restaurant that, you know, the door is open for me. And I'm not going to sit up here and put a time frame on when I think you should start doing this, but I would like to see, improvement in that area or growth, and I'm going to continue to give you grace as you navigate that, as you continue, because there is even in growing, there's still times when you're going to slip up.
Right.
Just like for me, even in my growth, there's still times where Destiny's walked on the inside of the sidewalk, and she had to look at me, and I'd be like, "Oh, my bad. Okay, right. I'm sorry." So even in those growth moments, you're still going to have slip ups. But if the conversation is never had, then you'll continue to be stressed about the situation. Then stress is going to turn into anger. Anger is going to turn into resentment, and all that other stuff. That's a domino effect. You know what I mean? So I would just say, have the conversation, let him know what your expectations are. You know what your standards are. You know what boxes need to be checked. And if it's not happening for you, then maybe that's something you have to visit. As far as like, is this the right situation for me?
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question. So, like you said, when you've gone walking with your wife, and she's, wants to be on that correct position or I won't say correct, but you know what I mean, the position on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Where did that expectation in her mind start from? Have you guys had that conversation where did someone come in her life at one particular point in time, like a parent or whatever, and say, this is what you should expect from a man. He should open your door. He should let let that chair out. You should not have to walk near the street when you're walking on the sidewalk. So therefore, when you sometimes don't even be thinking, and she look at you and be like, that has to come from somewhere, is what I'm saying. So that's my question. Are you aware?
I'm actually, it's funny. We never had that conversation on where the example came from for her. That's actually a good point. What's funny? I'm gonna have a talk with her about that, because I never really even asked her to this point. But I know that the expectation is there, and it's evident in the fact that when we go to restaurants, she'll just stand there and be like, "Oh yeah, I got to get the door," and so it came from somewhere, which so here's the thing. I'm more than happy to do it because I have the desire in me to already do it. And so you have to have the desire, and it has to be in you to already want to do those things, right? You, for example, with Chanel, like, you want to mow the lawn, you want to get her car washed, you want to get her oil changed. These are things that inside of you that this is what it takes to be this is what part of being a successful husband is, right? And so a lot of people, they have to have it inside of them to be like, okay, I desire to do these things. It's not just doing it because it's your responsibility, or because or because of your gender, or whatever the case may be. You have to really have that desire to be like, okay, I am 100% A-okay with doing this for my wife, because this is what I desire to do for her.
Right. Right.
And again, even in those moments where I slip up, it's not like she'll look at me and I'll stay on the outside of the sidewalk because I don't want to do it. It's like, okay, let me get on the inside of the sidewalk because I know this is something that I want to do, but also it's something that's expected of me to do.
Even when you're mad, and see, that's the thing. That's the part that I struggled with at first, being married.
Yeah.
It was like, man, I don't feel like she done pissed me off. She done made me mad. I'm gonna make her open the door today. When we go somewhere or whatever.
Yeah.
And now that I have a daughter, I have to show that example. You know what I mean? So it's like, even when I'm mad, I still do it. Even when I'm mad, see, we open up the Pandora's box here. Even when I'm mad, you have to still text. You still have to be that husband and do those responsibilities, because we don't have that ability. There's one thing that I've said: the coldest thing in the world is a shoulder from a woman when they mad. When they mad. But even when that is occurring, I still have to be chivalrous. I still have to have that responsibility, even when I don't want to. And so I'm like, Lord, I need your help because I want to open the door. I
Yeah.
want to take. Here she is calling me saying that her tire's flat, but she just made me mad this morning.
And the pettiness in you wants to be like, okay, figure it out. Call AAA.
Yep.
It's the natural pettiness in us. And this is why I say you have to really have it in you and dig deep, because it's like, how do I overcome this and still open the door for her when I'm pissed, you know? But it takes, I don't know, man, it's
Takes the
one,
Lord.
it takes prayer. But also when you married or even in a relationship, you have to be able to sacrifice, compromise, and die to self, right? Dying to self is one of the hardest things you can do, especially when you're mad. It's like one of the toughest things. You know what's funny? I would say dying to self is probably the biggest challenge that a person will endure in a relationship. Hands down, easy, dying to self.
And you don't even do it one time, you die
Yeah.
daily.
Daily, bro.
Yeah.
Pick up your cross and carry it daily. Wow. It's different, man. So I would say for the men who desire to do this and they want to do this, it takes a special kind of man. It really does. But the men that are doing this, in my opinion, are the men that are succeeding as far as being the husband that they've been called to be.
Yeah.
Or the boyfriend that they've been called to be, or the fiance, whatever you are in your situation. These are the type of things that it takes, especially for a woman who, and I'll step back and I'll say this. If your woman is requiring this and desiring this, then you have a quality woman, because she's not going to accept just the basic surface level situation. Your wife doesn't accept that. My wife doesn't accept that. And that's what makes them the women that they are.
It make you love them.
It makes you love them, and it makes you appreciate, and it challenges you to also elevate and build yourself up. And that's what it's all about, building yourself up in growth moments to where it's like, okay, you know what? This is what's required of me, man.
And that's what we thrive in as men, right? We thrive in areas where we have an expectation of excellence.
Wow.
We have to thrive in that area because it's built in us.
Yeah.
That's why we have these football and basketball and, the championships and the all-star games and the scoring 30 a night. And if you under that, you pissed, and, all of this stuff. So when you're in a relationship, and I would say these to the men that's listening and to the women, when
Yeah.
you're in a relationship, of course you have to die daily, but you ought to want to be in a situation where you're going to be challenged mentally and you're going to have an expectation like, I better not walk in this house and I don't have the expectation to be a man.
Wow.
Because I'm going to feel like, well, why the heck am I here? What is the part of my existence? I have to be a man. This is what I'm going to do. I am going to take the trash out. I'm just naming these things. I am going to pick up my cross and die daily. But it's work. And what are we meant as men? We're meant to work. Meant to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Tend to the field, do whatever we got to do. It's in the Bible. So it's meant to be done. So that's what I have to say. But, as far as like, each man ought to be able to ask themselves a question, or, if they want to date, or even in life. You don't even have to be with anyone. But if you see an old woman walking down the street with groceries in her hand, and the first thought in your mind is, I need to go over here and help. But if it's not there, you ought to be asking yourself a question. And I'm gonna be honest, am I a man?
Ooh.
Am I a man? Ain't about what you have in your pants. It's about what you have right here and up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
the moment you just ask yourself, are you a man? Then you ought to be asking God, help me gain wisdom as a man so that I can be the man that you would have me, the God man that you would have me to do.
Wow.
You look in the Bible, stories about Jesus being a man,
Yeah.
love and being loving and you know, forgiving and, you know, doing all of these miracles and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It all flows into this whole thing about, are we being that God man that we need to be? So I know I took it deep, but that's where
That's
it
good.
starts.
No, that's good. I'm glad that you actually said that, because a good thing that you mentioned was chivalry doesn't just come in relationship. It extends beyond that. So it is the seeing the more seasoned woman
Mm-hmm.
carrying groceries, or maybe you're riding the bus and a more seasoned individual gets on the bus and she has nowhere to sit. Okay, get up and let her sit down. you
Mm-hmm.
know, or you see someone is struggling in a wheelchair or on a walker getting across the street. Okay, help them across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so dope that you mentioned that, because chivalry extends beyond relationships. Chivalry can be any situation, anywhere where you are taking yourself and dying to self and extending your assistance to someone else
Mm-hmm.
who may
Mm-hmm.
be in a weaker situation, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Or just,
So,
just women in general. Like yesterday while I was at work, my job, they do these little seasonal things. Well, this lady that's on my team came around to a group of us and said, "Hey, they have free coffee, free this little truck that's come up to the building and get free coffee, hot chocolate, lattes. Y'all want to go?" And I'm
mhm.
thinking to myself, "Nah, I don't, I don't want to go."
No.
But it was a group of women, and I would be the only man. So I felt in me that it was like I had to go, because it's like, and when we went, not to be their protector or nothing like that, but when we
Yeah.
went, I opened up the door and let them all walk through.
Yeah.
I let them go before me to go up to the line.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that I care about. They're on my team, so I want to make sure everything's all good, because we're
Right.
going out. This truck is on the street,
Right.
so it's like little things like that. Even though I didn't want no coffee or I didn't want no hot chocolate,
It
but
was in you
it was
to
in me.
be like, you know what? Okay, I got to make sure they good, because at the end of the day, they're still ladies. And
Mm-hmm.
no, I get it, bro. Wow. Wow, dude.
It's ingrained. That's all I'm saying. It's ingrained in me. And if a man is out there that's listening to this and doesn't have it ingrained in them, like I said, they should be asking themselves that question: how do I get it ingrained in me of showing what you're doing is showing grace. What you're doing is showing mercy, right?
Yeah.
To people, not necessarily women, but if it's your woman, you have to make sure you show that grace and that mercy, because if you don't, who they gonna go to? Who they gonna look? What example are they gonna make? It's not gonna be good.
Yeah. And last thing I would say, just because you haven't had the example, it doesn't mean it's too late for you to see an example. So you want to be surrounding yourself around people who
Mm-hmm.
are doing it. If this is something that you desire and you don't have it in you, but you want to have it in you, number one, start praying. But number two, start asking God to surround you around people who are actually doing it, so you can see that example, so you can see what it looks like. Because again, that's how I did it. That's how you did it. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
have examples. We just hung around people and we saw them doing it, and we saw them doing it so consistently that it just became a part of our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so I would say just continue to surround yourself around people who are doing it. And the more and more you see it, the more and more it'll become a habit for you, you
Yep.
know?
Yep. And it'll be ingrained in you. So yep.
Yeah. Yeah. This was good, man. I appreciate you coming on through, man, and talking about this, because this was a topic that I really wanted to go over, because I think that a lot of people think that it has died, women and men. And like you said, it's not dead. It's just, we just have to have it in us to really bring it to life, if that makes sense, you know? And so, yeah, man, I appreciate you stopping by, bro.
No
It's a
problem, dog.
pleasure. And make sure y'all are following us at Flip That Switch on IG, where we post reels from the episode. Also, if you can't watch us, you can still listen to us wherever you get your podcast at Flip That Switch. So make sure you're tuning in and rocking with us and following us at Flip That Switch. So thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy man, and
anytime, bro.
We got to do it again soon, bro. We got to do it again soon, because it's
yes,
always
sir,
always a combo, man. So I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to see y'all soon. We out.